Thanks for tuning back in, guys. Last video we went over how to create your first database in SQL Server database and created our first table. So we've already pre-populated the database and the table that we need to interact with our form data. So now we want to go over the web server side of this. So what we're going to do is go into IIS and install the web platform installer and start installing PHP on to our web server so that it can handle PHP data when we click in our web page that ultimately submits it in PHP format. So we'll go down here to Server Manager and we want to go to Tools and go to our IIS Manager, Internet Information Services Manager. And over here we want to utilize our online resources. So we're going to go to the Microsoft Web Platform installer. And we want to install this extension. For purposes of ease of use, we'll just go ahead and install this to the desktop. And so I'll click Save As, Desktop, the Web Platform installer, hit Save, let it finish downloading, and go ahead and run that. So you can see here our Web Platform installer setup wizard. Again, make sure that you read all of these terms and conditions because you never know who you're selling your soul to. And you want to make sure that there's no nefarious activity going on, which I don't ever really expect that from Microsoft. So it's pretty safe. Make sure you click Accept Terms for the license agreement and click Install. And remember that icon there. Pretty quick installation, real small package. We've installed that there. So if we go back into our IIS Manager, go down here into the device DB. So this is our web server that we have set up locally. Then we see that we've installed the web platform installer, which is going to help us install PHP. So we finished installing that extension here into IIS Manager. So again, like I said, remember that icon. Other things that you can see from our prior videos we've installed is this CGI, which is the common gateway interface that handles our PHP information, sends it to the right engines to be processed, and then returns the data back that it's supposed to. We want to click here on Web Platform Installer. Go ahead and initialize that for the first time. And so it's going online and pulling the information from the repositories, stuff that is online and ready to install. So we want to go here to Products, and what we're looking for is the latest version of PHP for SQL Server and IIS. So you see all the different versions, and we want to find the latest version, PHP for IIS Express. We're going to make sure that we use the right architecture. So if we're running 64-bit architecture, we want to add that. We're running 86 for backwards compatibility. We want to add, you notice here also it's adding a few other platforms that's identified. There's contingent upon the installation, which is just fine. So installing PHP 7.4.1 for IIS Express, and we'll click Install. It's going to tell us, are you sure you want to install these things? Then we will accept. And you notice here there's also a direct download link where you can go and download it manually. We're just going to accept the terms, hit accept, and wait for this to install. Our installer did not like the certificates, and so it failed the validation, which means that we're going to have to do this manually, which is just fine. So I'll go ahead and exit the web PI, and we will go to that link. So I'll go ahead and put that link in the description. I've got it copied down over here. So we're going to go to Internet Explorer or whatever web browser that you prefer. and we will go to that specific link, so PHP Manager for IIS. So we'll go ahead and hop on over there and get that download page. Alright, so as you can see, PHP Manager 1.5.0 for IIS 10. Go ahead and click download this extension. Okay, so hopefully you don't have as much difficulty getting Internet Explorer or your web browser to let you download this onto your Azure virtual machine. I ended up downloading it to a local host and connecting, utilizing local resources over IDP so that I could copy and paste that installation file over to the Azure virtual machine. Now that I have that downloaded and here on my Azure virtual machine, I'll go ahead and execute that PHP Manager setup wizard. Go ahead and click yes. Notice it has a pretty free MIT license. Go ahead and read what that license means. Essentially allowing you to utilize this freely as long as credit's given to the original publisher there with that copyright underneath it. So if you were to manipulate this and create your own PHP Manager, you would need to give your credit to Ronald Carter here, who copyrighted this in 2016. So we're going to install that. Successfully installed. We'll go ahead and click exit on that. Now that we have the PHP Manager, you'll see that populate here in your files or in your applications later. Now we want to actually install PHP on IIS. So we're going to go back here to Internet Explorer and go to secure.php.net. Downloads.php, and make sure that we grab the right version for that. Alright, so here we are on the php.net download page, and you'll see all of the stable PHPs. Notice they're all tarballs or that. We want to make sure that we get the current stable release for Windows downloads. So we'll click Windows downloads here. And you can see there's plenty of different versions for us to choose from. They have a little help panel here that does help you out. We're using IIS. If you're using PHP as fast CGI with IIS, you should use the non-thread safe versions of PHP. So that's what we want. If you're running Apache or some other type of engine for your web page, then you would want to read this and choose the appropriate download. So we're using PHP. We want to use the non-thread safe. So this zip right here. We want to save it as, again, to the desktop. So that's easy for us to show our install. Alright, so we've downloaded it as a zip file. So now we want to extract it to the location that we want. And here we are going to modify the destination folder to be on our root drive. So we're going to open that up, navigate to C, the C drive, and I want to create a new folder named PHP, which is where IIS is going to go look for the dynamic link libraries to work with PHP. Select that folder and extract it there. So just to double check, we're in C PHP, and we'll go ahead and extract. Alright, there you go. So as you can see, it's got a lot of the DLLs there. When we go to manipulate our dynamic link library, so we're going to have to download a few more that are specific to PHP in IIS, and we will stick those into this folder here. And then we're going to modify our php.ini file, which right now they're here and their extensions are appended with a development and a production name. And this is for while you're developing your web hosting. We will rename this one development. We'll essentially just delete development off the end, and this will become our php ini file that IIS will use. And it's best practices to create a separate file for each of your different instances. So if you have one web page, you want to create one file that references specifically for that web page. And so that's why you see here they have a production and a development file. So as you're making changes and implementing new pages onto your web page, you can test this before you put it into production. So just to real quick look at this, we're going to open this with Notepad so you can see the contents of this php.ini file. It's a lengthy file and there's a lot of help in here, so if you go in here and you read through it, it will help you out quite a bit. The sections we're interested in is down near the end, where you'll see the extensions and the DLL files that are in here. And you'll notice that there are none for the PHP for IIS, and so we need to add those and then stick the names of those extensions here so that IIS knows how to handle PHP. So let's close that for now. Okay, so next we are going to create a new handler, create a new module mapping to map these PHP requests to a specific executable. So we'll go here to handler mappings, double click on that to open it up, and we'll see the different enabled ones that we have here. And what we want to do is we want to go over here to add module mapping. For our .php, we're going to select our module here, the CGI module that we installed earlier, and then our executable is optional, but for our purposes here we want to go to C and PHP. If you installed yours in a different directory or folder, then make sure you go there. And initially you're only going to see the DLLs. We want to open up this drop down menu, select .exe, and you'll see this php-cgi. We want to utilize that. So we select it, hit open, and then we'll give it a simple name that helps us remember. Give it a PHP fast CGI, something for us to remember what it does. Do you want to allow it? Click yes, so it'll give you a warning. And click yes, and we notice that we've enabled that utilizing the CGI module. And that enables a fallback for the fast CGI model not working. So the difference between fast CGI module and CGI module is with CGI module, the process starts and stops for every single request. And so if for whatever reason your web application or whatever instance you're using this for is sending bulk requests or requests over a short time period, then fast CGI module can essentially keep that alive for a longer period of time. That way you're not wasting your precious processing power to start and stop applications, or start and stop the processes over and over again. So that's kind of a overview of the differences between fast CGI and standard CGI. Alright, so now that we've created our module mapping, let's go ahead and go back to the home page for IIS, our web server role. And we want to go ahead and look here at the default document. So this is going to really change based on your web page that you're hosting on here. For some people, they're more comfortable with HTML. Some people have been working with PHP. So it depends on what you wrote your web page to, your home page, what language you wrote that in. I mean, you can see here, it's much like a access list where the top name has priority. And so IIS is going to go down this list, and if it finds a file name of this extension and this name, then it will display that first. So if I have a file name, and again that goes back here to initpub. So to go through that, we go to initpub, and we see here that, well, first of all, we can't see our extensions, so let's go ahead and fix that since this is the first time we're running it. So we go in up here to the toolbar, over to view, and we're going to enable file name extensions. So now we can see the extensions of these file names, which is actually good that we did that now, because later on it will save us from having to do it to change text.text to .html. We see this is .htm, and down here in the bottom you'll see iistart.htm, and it's close to the bottom. So if I were to stick, let's just go ahead and create a new text document here. That's going to open up Notepad, and we're going to name it index.htm. It's higher up in the list, and so if IIS sees this file first, it's going to display that information first. You remember the first time we verified that IIS was installed properly, it opened up that nice blue web page with a link in there that we could go learn how to build a web page. We're going to create a new one, just basic index.html. It's going to yell at us, do we want to change the file name extension? We're going to select yes, and now that is saved as a text document in HTML format. So we want to edit it. We can go ahead and select open with Notepad, and right now it's just blank. For HTML, you're going to start off with your HTML tags, your header tags, title, all of the different tags that you need to build a web page. But if we were to simply put something simple in here like hello world and then save that, now this is saved in that index.html spot, which is higher up in the list. And you'll notice in index.php down here as well. So if we create our home page utilizing the PHP language, then we would want to either put that higher up in our list or make sure there's no index.html in there. So now if we open up Internet Explorer and we navigate to http://localhost, if I can spell here. Now, instead of seeing that blue screen, that start page that IIS had, we see that text document that we created. And if we create HTML in there, then it's going to start displaying a web page or whatever we designed to be there. Now for now, we're just going to leave this as it is. That just goes to demonstrate how IIS goes through the default document and determines what it's going to display when somebody requests the HTTP GET. It's going to send off that home page, and then the parser will read that HTML, request images and links and all of this other stuff that you're putting into your web page. For our example, my index.html, I'm going to move that up. So if we want to move that or remove it, we go over here to this actions pane, and I want to move that up to the top because I know that's what my web page is going to be. I'm writing it in HTML, and we'll be naming it index there. Now we will go back to our file explorer, And what I want to do is go here to this php.ini, and we're going to rename this development one so that IIS starts to use that. So we are renaming it php.ini, and you're going to see this icon change as soon as we hit enter. It's going to say, hey, do you want to do this? And we're going to select yes, and now all of a sudden it's got this gear here. Alright, so next thing that we want to do is refresh our application pools, since we've installed that PHP Manager that we're going to be utilizing here in IIS. Go over here to view application pools and recycle this. So it's going to refresh the app pools that we're seeing there. Go ahead and close this, and then I want to reopen it so it reinitializes. And go back down here, and now we're going to see our new application that we installed earlier, this PHP Manager. And you'll see nothing's available. It's not recognizing the PHP that we've installed. So what we're going to do is register a new PHP version and navigate to C PHP and this CGI right here. I'm going to move this up so you can see PHP CGI. Hit open, hit OK, and now we have our new PHP version 7.4.12, and you'll see the extensions that are installed due to that. And we will see a few recommendations. It's a good practice to go in and double check these recommendations to make sure there's not some configuration errors in there. And what we're interested in now is the PHP extensions. This, you can see that reading from that PHP file, the .ini file, there's 13 extensions enabled and 40 extensions installed. So we're going to click here, enable, disable extensions, and look at what we have. So in here we see a lot of the different Linux-based ones, ones for MySQL and curl and all of that. But right now it does not know how to handle PHP for IIS. And so what we need to do is add those dynamic link libraries, the extensions, into the folder that they belong in. If you remember up here in this extensions folder, we need to add them in here, and then also we need to update our php.ini file to reflect that so that it's updated. So we're going to end this video right here. Now that we have gone through and properly installed PHP as well as the PHP Manager and created some mappings for IIS to know where to direct these. In the next video we will attack adding the extensions into the appropriate folder for PHP and going over how to configure that.